Hi everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today for our International Women's Day event. We're ISCF. We've got lots to show you today. We've got a jam-packed agenda. So I won't take up too much of your time doing the introduction. I'm Olivia Abomo. I've been working in ISCF for about 18 months, and I'm working as a project manager to embed diversity and inclusion into ISCF. Today's agenda includes an introduction from myself and Mike Biddle, the director of ISCF. We then got a marketplace session where you'll get a chance to understand opportunities for funding within ISCF, as well as some of the work that we've been doing around diversity and inclusion. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. We'll also have a question and answer session at the end, but please feel free to pop the questions in the Q&A box all the way through. We've got myself and Mel Netch who will be able to answer your questions as we go through the session. And at the end, the whole of the panel will be able to answer your questions. Just to give you a bit of a taste of where we're heading, this is our vision within ISCF. We have a really bold vision statement for the future of ISCF. We want to be leaders in equality, diversity, and we want to empower all of ISCF staff and partners to be their true selves. It is a bold ambition. I know that we've got a long way to go, but I really hope that by some of the presentations that you see today, you're hopeful and see the efforts that are being made to make a more diverse and equal challenge fund. So I will now hand over to Mike Biddle, who will be doing a short introduction, and we'll move straight into the marketplace.
Thanks, Olivia. Welcome everybody. I've been involved with the Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund since it was an idea in our minds back in the summer of 2016. I'm the program director. Sometimes you'll hear people say ISCF, sometimes you'll hear people say Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund, sometimes you'll hear people say the Challenge Fund. It's all the same thing. The fundamental reason for creating the Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund was to transform and create industries, so transform existing industries and create entirely new ones. And for me, that can only be done through innovation. And innovation, I think you can boil down in terms of needing to inspire people, needing to involve people, and needing to invest in great ideas wherever they come from. So through the Challenge Fund, we're trying to inspire people for what the future economy might look like, areas where the UK has great strengths and ability to compete in the global market. We need to involve all people, and fundamentally, one of the fundamental requirements behind the Challenge Fund was to have interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary research happening. So not just different businesses working together, but business working with academia all across the country, all different types of institutions, all types of different faculties, all types of different approaches. So to me, that is about diversity of ideas, which is why we need a broad equality, diversity and inclusion agenda. And for me, that was brought home actually not through one of our challenges, although it relates to healthy aging. I used to be the president of the Ambient Assisted Living Association in Europe. And for a while, there was a lot of work going on around how do you help people live more independently through robotics? And I was always a bit of a skeptic, actually, which is how is a robot the answer to somebody living better in the future? Until I met a gentleman and his wife in Eindhoven he was living with dementia. So he had early stage Alzheimer's, and him and his wife were sort of working through what that meant for them. And they were offered 48 hours for him to live in a smart home in Eindhoven, which again, when I heard about this, I was very skeptical. But talking to him, he found it a revelation because to him, the fact that he was never annoying his wife when he kept asking the same questions over and over again, it was just the computer, the equivalent of Alexa or Bixby or whoever, they didn't get frustrated. And also he knew that he wasn't frustrating them because it was just a computer at the other side rather than his wife. So a small example, and not something funded through the Challenge Fund, but it did start to make me realize that everybody has got an important perspective on how technology and innovation can help change and improve their lives. And for me, what we're trying to do across the Challenge Fund is try and embed some of that ideas, broadest equality, diversity, inclusion agenda, and obviously very important on a day like today, which is International Women's Day. So that's what you're going to hear as we go through this next session. We're going to start off with smart sustainable plastic packaging, and I'll leave you in the capable hands of Sarah and Shona, who will talk you through some of the things we're up to in smart sustainable plastic packaging. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Just get my slides on the screen. Okay, hopefully you can all see those and hear me nice and clearly. Super. I think, Shona, you're going to kick off, aren't you?
So, yes, just to say our hello from the Smart Sustainable Plastics Packaging, and to introduce Sarah Bannon, who is our one of our innovation leads, and myself. I am the Impact and Performance Manager, and we both work together on the same challenge. And so that's why we're double-handed today.
Super, thanks, Shona. So the SSPP challenge was started in 2019, and it's a £60 million investment under the UK government's Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund. And so I said SSPP, that's the Smart Sustainable Plastic Packaging Challenge. It's geared towards investment in research and innovation that will drive cleaner growth towards more circular and sustainable plastic packaging. And really the main aim is to make plastic packaging fit for purpose, well designed, and also make sure it doesn't end up in the wrong place, because we've seen enough of that. And we also have an objective to enhance collaboration across the whole plastic packaging supply chain. So the vast majority of the projects we support involve multiple partners. These could be academics, SMEs, or larger companies. And typically the industrial projects are also geared towards securing private investment in the UK throughout the long term. And as you're all keenly aware, the scale of the plastics challenge is large, and we really want to help tackle this by supporting bold and ambitious innovations that deliver significant impact. So I'm going to hand back over to Shona to talk through how women are actually creating change in the plastic sector.
So there are lots of arenas in which women are making a big difference. Very famous Harvard Business Review article that's often quoted but rarely cited, that says that women control spending in most categories of consumer goods, and they're characterised as driving the world economy. There's also some brilliant figures in there about the market of women spending being more formidable than both China and India put together, and something in the region of 28 trillion pounds worth of consumer spending at the control of women. So no small share in the spending of the world. And it's through spending that we create change, and can create change and continue to demand change. My own background in research, rubbish is my first love, and the work that's been done in this area shows that household recycling, for example, in the UK is generally initiated. The schemes are set up within the household routines by women, and often sustained by women and other family members together. But they're at the core of producing this feedstock of plastics for recycling and for all materials, in fact. So that the beginnings of circularity begin in the home, where the consumer takes the packaging that's come along the supply chain and either makes a choice about whether or not to re-divert it back and keep it within the system, or to let it fall out into landfill. There's also quite a lot of interesting research done on organisational change makers and the role that women have in changing the organisations that they are part of. As you see here today in front of you, we are creating change in ISCF, we're hoping to. I was just saying to Ben this morning that our wish for the next generation of women is that we don't need an International Women's Day at all. But meanwhile, firms that have gender diverse leadership are seen to be more effective at pursuing environmentally friendly strategies as a whole. So another stream of power of women. And we can't help talking and boasting about some of the women that we fund who are innovators at the forefront of just about everything, but also at the forefront of SSPP and uppermost in our minds. So two particular women in innovation that we'd like to celebrate today from our challenge. The first one is Catherine Conway. Catherine is, as you see, the founder and CEO of Unpackaged. She's a social entrepreneur, and she is a zero waste campaigner. And she is an inspiring and sought after speaker, as well as the founding and member and running her own business, which started in 2006 from a market stall, went via the single corner shop route, and now has a presence in several mainstream supermarkets. So a brilliant success story there. And she is one of our funded leaders of within one of our competitions. She is one of our project leaders. And we've taken one here from a more technological and social understanding of innovation, and one from a more academic understanding. And we have here Dr. Alison Stoll. We'd also like to celebrate her today. She's another leader of a project, this time as part of our Enabling Research competition. She's senior lecturer at Lancaster University. She's done a lot of work in waste electrical electronic equipment, but at the moment is focusing on plastic packaging in people's lives. So she's understanding waste as situated, complex and political. And this is the work that's really needed to understand how that circularity that we talked a minute ago, how that can be turned around and put back into the supply chain. The other reason that we'd like to celebrate Alison in particular is because her work is transdisciplinary. She's published across sciences and social sciences, and is working with chemists, sociologists, biologists, and all manner of folk trying to push forward these very complex problems. And for us, that's as a challenge, and also in the ISCF, that's very close to our hearts.
Thanks, Shona. So I'm going to now quickly tell you about an upcoming funding opportunity within the Smart Sustainable Plastic Packaging Challenge. We recognise that as a material, the benefits of plastics are really substantial, but we want to make sure that plastic packaging is not really just the thing we throw away after maybe one or a few uses. So the competition opening up at the end of March, so 29th of March, is for ambitious and large-scale business-led research and development activities. And really, we're looking for these projects to be proving their feasibility prior to scale-up. And projects can be focused on one or more of a number of themes related to sustainable plastic packaging. This really is just a snapshot of this funding opportunity, because I know we're short of time now, but we have a briefing event on the 24th of March, and you can find more details about this competition and how to join that briefing event on the UK CPN website. The link is just at the bottom of that screen, or alternatively get in touch with Shona or myself and we can provide you with more information. So I'm now going to hand over to Ben Walsh. He's the Deputy Challenge Director for the Transforming Foundation Industries Challenge.
Hello, everybody. Great. Thank you very much, Sean and Sarah. My name is Ben Walsh. I'm the Deputy Challenge Director for Transforming Foundation Industries, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our challenge today. But I thought it was important just to address the elephant in the room that I am a man, and as such, I wanted to attend this event to really support and help change the situation in terms of enabling women to be involved in our challenges, what we do. And the thing that was nervous, and we get from this slide, three things. The thing that I'm most nervous about is trying to avoid some of the words on the left appearing in people's heads. It's around, heap eating or trying to be a saviour or mansplaining things to you. So I'm quite nervous about that. And I think we all recognise that the evidence shows that if you have males involved in this, then you're more likely to see progression in society. But if I'm really honest, the skin in the game for me are those two young people or things which sat my bank account on a daily basis. My two daughters, Ivy and Hazel. I'm doing it for them because I want to see, as Shona said, a world in which they grow up and they are seen as equal. And frankly, we don't need an International Women's Day to promote women's achievements. And so that's enough about me. Let's talk a little bit about my challenge. So the foundation industries. Foundation industries are ceramics, glass, cement, metals, paper, and the chemical sector. In total, worth about 45 billion to the UK economy and employ about half a million people. Most of those are outside the southeast. As Mike mentioned in his opening statement, we're about transforming an existing industry. And if we're honest, they're boring. They're the simple products of everyday life. Concrete, bricks, glass for windows. They don't seem massively interesting until you realise that they're all around you. If you look around probably your home or your office, or if you look outside, you realise that everything around you is built on these fundamental products. And they are about 75% of all the material produced on the planet is produced by those six industries. They are vital. They are not going away, but the problem is that those six industries are by far and away the largest polluters, generating around 10% of all of UK's CO2. And because they're so capital intensive and they're heavy industry and commoditized, you're in a global marketplace which make competition very, very fierce for these materials. And so in the UK, you've got this double whammy of encroaching legislation, which is going to drive their ability to compete less, and you've got foreign-owned, foreign-producing plants which are lower cost, they are more efficient, encroaching on UK markets. So our challenge is around trying to transform these industries so that they're internationally competitive in manufacturing products that are vital to our economy. We're doing so in an environmentally sustainable way. Now, what we mean by this is we're focused on resource and energy efficiency. This is making things better by reducing input costs. We're not around end of pipe, so this isn't around carbon capture storage, carbon capture and utilisation. It really is around making things better by using less. So in the challenge, I'd say diversity in all forms is really important, and gender is something that we're really, really interested in. And we had a suspicion that we know what those typical heavy industries are like in terms of their diversity. And we did some research, and unfortunately we proved right that they're summarily pretty poor. Most of these sectors, women are a minority. Most are in the top left pie chart. Most of them have male-dominated areas, male-dominated in terms of their employee makeup. In the top right pie chart, you can see most of the women are in more junior positions. And as you can see, of the positions that are open to women, by far and away, most of them are back office staff. They are not technical or production-related roles. So this means, in terms of science impact from women in these sectors is relatively low. And so we see this as, we've measured the problem, which is a good thing. In fact, this is the first time this problem's been measured specifically for these sectors. So that's a good thing. But we recognise the barriers that we face in trying to address this. So the challenges there is around developing innovation. It's around helping companies, in particular, innovate in this space. So we are feeling our way through, and and Olivia in particular has been great in trying to help us feel a way through on how we actually support development of the individual within the system, and certainly things that we're going to be trialing over the next three or so years around diversity. I kind of highlighted here with 5 bullets. Really, we're going to be looking at early stage people, getting them involved in and excited about STEM and excited around the foundation industries. We're going to be looking at developing the skill set of those people who are coming up through that, either through training or through support by talking to our wider Catapult network. Particularly for women and for young people, we're going to be highlighting those successes, giving those beacons, people that we should be highlighting, say, look, people who look like you are making a difference within these sectors. We're also going to be looking at providing awards, so an incentive to show highlighting the successes in the sector. And then finally, we're looking to try to start to, bearing in mind this is a super tanker, try to start to tackle the culture and train up ambassadors who will go forth and hopefully show the value of these sectors. Okay, so that's kind of on the EDI front. From an innovation front, these sectors come together. Six sectors can come together and work together because actually a whole variety of things that they can work on to solve a problem. One of the reasons that we put these together as a group of challengers, a group of sectors, was because they face common technological challenges, and these are around waste utilization. How do you get basically recycling higher and more efficient within these sectors, ensuring that they actually process their energy more appropriately, reducing their overall energy bill. Looking at the digital technology and the digital side to ensure that you reduce wastage and you improve productivity through the plant. And finally, around heat recovery. Most of these processes are very heat intensive. And although they may look different, you're putting a raw material in one end, heating it up and then cooling it down. And that heat needs to go somewhere. And if that can be used either on-site or off-site, that can significantly reduce the overall impact of the processes. I've got a bunch of slides around each of these competitions which are coming up, but we don't have time to talk about that. Afterwards, I've actually included them as annex, so they can just be circulated and you can find out more information. But we've got quite a packed timeline over the next 12 months of competitions which are either open, about to open, or are just about to close, all of which are relevant for funding around these sectors. We've got an investor partnership competition which is just about to launch, and that is where we've actually partnered with a bunch of investors who are interested in investing in technologies relevant to the foundation industries. And so if you're an SME or you're a small startup looking for funding that's relevant to our sector, you can actually get more than 100% funding to help develop your idea. You get equity investment as well as Innovate UK investment into your idea. We have a beautifully titled Small CR&D competition. So that's a competition that's going to be looking at small projects, particularly around the SMEs who are dipping their toe in the water. We recognise, because it's an old industry, it's an old set of sectors, a lot of these companies are not used to working on innovation. So dipping their toe in at the very small end, looking at projects from as low as £25,000, and that is due to open in June this year. At the other end of the scale, we'll be looking to run a much larger demonstrator, a small demonstrator competition focused on very big cross-sectoral working between the industries, and those are sort of £6 to £8 million projects overall, and be run over a 2-year period. That's opening in December this year, but actually there's looking to be a stage prior to that, which will be an EOI stage, which will open in early September. Right, okay, I think it's my job to kind of leave it there and pass on to Lorna.
Hi, thanks Ben. I'll just share my screen. Hi, my name's Lorna. I'm the project manager for Driving the Electric Revolution. My slides are focusing on the supply chains for net zero for our current competition, which opens tomorrow, and that's CR&D funding. So I just thought I'll give you a quick competition overview. Right, okay, as Mike said earlier, Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund. These are the 4 grand challenges, and Driving the Electric Revolution fits under clean growth and future of mobility. Driving the Electric Revolution, the main aims are stated below. I'll just talk about the high level ones. The main thing is power electronics, electric machines, drives, all come under the category of PEMD, and you'll see a lot of those initials through this presentation. One of the main things we're going to do is identify key gaps in the UK PEMD supply chain and help the industry fill them, enabling delivery of net zero. Now, net zero is one of the government's main priorities. There's a really big effort going on to reduce carbon from transport, energy, and industrial processes. Electrification, which is what this challenge is about, of these sectors is crucial to this. Our other aims, the high level of other aims, are funding for industry, networking and collaboration, industrialization and manufacturing, and talent growth. Okay, Driving the Electric Revolution, the supply chains. Power electronics, the P as in from the PEMD, is development of semiconductors and their packaging to enable switching of high power whilst minimizing loss. Electric machines, conversion between electrical energy and kinetic energy through electromagnetic, mechanical and thermo design optimism for each application. This includes things like electric motors in cars and generators in wind turbines. And then also we have drives, which are intelligent digital control systems. The manufacturing supply chain, which is the next, the middle layer of this slide, is showing the whole life cycle. It's the value chain of PEMD, materials processing, components manufacture, system integration, reuse and recycling. And on the bottom, we have the sectors, which is energy, rail, automotive, micro mobility, off-highway, maritime, aerospace, industrial, and robotics. So just to give you an overview of what Driving the Electric Revolution as a challenge is doing investment-wise. We have already invested 7 million in our Fast Start Accelerated Supply Chain CR&D activities. And also we've already invested 5 million for the short, high impact, high resilient supply chain CR&D projects. The 6 million we've invested on initiatives addressing the skills gap through training, upskilling and reskilling. Included in this 6 million is outreach for and engagement with to address the ED&I, the equality, diversity and inclusion in the PEMD sector, which we realise is lacking at the moment. We are specifically targeting the workforce. We're focusing on women in the workforce, but we're also going out to schools, to colleges, and also still in the workforce to see what we can actually do to address the balance and get more women interested and retaining and staying in this industry. We're working with colleagues who are also looking at skills in the STEM industries, the science, technology, engineering, manufacturer careers, to find out where does it tail off and why does it tail off. Okay, we've invested 30 million in industrialization centres, and the main competition that opens tomorrow is the 22 million. This is our flagship programme. This is for high value, low volume and high volume, high efficiency manufacturing. Okay, this is the main competition that's happening today, this week. The competition aims for Driving the Electric Revolution. It is enabling electrification. That's the main title. That's the high level ticket. Okay, it's enabling electrification across multiple sectors through the development of supply chains for PEMD to make sure that we can deliver net zero. This is part of a larger effort across many technologies and sectors to catalyse the government's green industrial revolution in transport, energy and industrial sectors, which is the part of the key point government plan. And the aim of the competition is to facilitate niche and volume UK supply chain and manufacturing capability and growth in this area. The competition details, just a very high level overview, is we are aiming to invest up to 22 million, which is available for innovation and collaborative R&D projects. The focus has to be on the UK supply chain and manufacturing capability growth, business-led and collaborative. The projects duration between 18 to 36 months, that's what we're looking for. And the project total costs between 0.5 and 5 million. The themes: manufacturing process development, design for manufacture, circular economy, and innovative testing. We're also expecting the projects to have credible post-project investment plans. And as I said, the competition opens today, and there's a briefing tomorrow. The competition closes in June, and we expect projects to start early next year. That was just a very quick and brief highlight of the competition, which is happening right now, which is open to all, which is the 22 million, and that's happening in the Driving the Electric Revolution challenge. Okay, I would just hand you over to Katrina Hayter in transforming food production. Thank you.
Thanks, Lorna. Right, I'm just going to share my screen. Bear with me. I won't be a second. Goodness, oh, it's going slightly wrong. Let me try this again. Sorry, guys. Right. Okay, can you see my screen? Can someone nod to me if you can?
Yes, we can. You can start the slideshow.
Okay, here we go. Sorry, everyone. So, good afternoon. My name's Katrina Hayter. I'm the Challenge Director for Transforming Food Production. I'm delighted to be here today on International Women's Day and give you an introduction to the Transforming Food Production Challenge and some of our current funding opportunities. I'm hoping that I just spark some interest and ultimately encourage you to get involved in our challenge, maybe apply for some of our funding. Agriculture, as you know, is quite a traditional industry. It's predominantly male, predominantly over 45 years of age, and predominantly white in the UK. So if ever an industry segment needed a diversity of thought, and it's this one. And we really, really do need the talents of everyone in the sector, because we have a huge challenge ahead of us. We need to produce food in ways that are significantly more efficient, resilient and sustainable. And we need to do this in the face of climate change on land that's increasingly degraded, increasingly water stressed. Agriculture, of course, must prepare for the impacts of climate change. It is, after all, a sector that's highly susceptible. But more than that, it's got a real opportunity to be part of the solution. And that's really where the business opportunity is in this sector. So like any good challenge, we've given ourselves a very lofty and audacious ambition, which is to help set the industry on a trajectory towards net zero productive food systems by 2040. And specifically, we're doing this by focusing on not only accelerating the development, but really crucially, the adoption of integrated, data-driven precision approaches to agricultural production. Okay. So this is the shape of our challenge, just to give you the context before I talk about specific funding opportunity. And when I think about the challenge, I think of it in kind of like three main ways. Our biggest chunk of funding, which is in green at the top, is called Future Food Production Systems. And this is really all about reimagining how we produce food. It's about sort of disruptive technology, new systems, new models that really have the potential to fundamentally change the way we not only produce but distribute and consume food. So in this kind of bucket, think about like new and novel food, proteins, maybe think about precision fermentation of food rather than you know, our reliance in animal feed at the moment on imported soy from South and North America, which is incredibly carbon intensive. Think sort of controlled environment agriculture, like vertical farms, growing food in like the food deserts of cities, or actually in literal deserts. We do have one funded project that is doing that in Morocco, actually. And then the second chunk of funding, this 30 million called Science and Technology, is really about how do we strengthen that connection between research and practice. So how can we shift somewhat what is sometimes quite an inefficient system where research is done in isolation really from the needs and requirements of end users like farmers. So we've been working through this funding programme to put this co-innovation and this adoption of new technology right at the heart of our programme. And then finally, the sort of last intervention I think of probably these two pillars, the investor and the international, is all about the business environment. How do we provide companies with growth and scale opportunities, whether that's through investment? So how do we crowd in investment to help companies go from that really difficult sort of pre-revenue stage to revenue generating? And or how do we help companies in their growth and scale journey? How do we help them expand into overseas markets at the right time? So we have got focus here on markets in Asia and North America. So to date, we have invested about 65 million of our 90 million pounds in over 80 cutting edge R&D projects. And they range from sort of insect farming right through to agricultural robotics and autonomous growing systems. Here is an example of one from our future food called React First. This is about alternative protein sources. And in this R&D project, we are producing the companies are producing new proteins through precision fermentation. They're actually using CO2 emissions from Drax power station as a feedstock for the bacteria to produce this new source of protein, which is being used to replace soy in fish meal. And it has a whole range of different partners involved, from Biomar, which is an aquaculture fish feed company, through to an end user and retailer, Sainsbury's. Another quick example of a project we've already funded is one called Robotics Highway. This is an autonomous soft fruit production project. Yeah, as you'll know, in the UK, we're very dependent on migrant labour, and we've got production systems that are pretty much the same since the 1980s. And this really ambitious project is with LIAT, which is Lincoln University, and Saga Robotics, and it's using Berry Gardens, which is a major horticultural producer in the southwest, and they're trialling autonomous growing systems at every stage of production. So I now want to just move on to our current funding opportunity. This is it's called Farming Innovation Pathways. It's a 12 million pound competition which opened on the 1st of March. And it closes on the 28th of April. It's the start of a new collaboration that UKRI has with DEFRA, and it's all about helping farmers address the twin challenges of productivity and sustainability whilst also delivering net zero emissions for UK farming. It's very much building on the transforming food production approach, which I discussed earlier, which is very much about putting farmers and growers at the heart of the innovation process. So ultimately that innovation process can go further and work faster. It's about closing the gaps between the R&D based entrepreneurs and producers so that we can better address those really significant challenges we have in the UK around productivity, sustainability, and net zero. It's vital, if you want to be successful in this competition, that you truly develop your proposals with farmers and end users. And let me just move on now. So we've got two competition strands called feasibility and industrial research. There's up to 5 million available in feasibility for projects ranging from 75k to 250. They have to be 12 to 18 months in duration. You have to be a UK business, RO or RTO. It must be farmer focused. On the industrial research side, we have up to 7 million available. The projects are slightly larger, lasting up to 24 months. But again, must be a UK registered business, lead or RO or RTO, and it must be farmer focused. We had the scope is, again, you must engage with farmers. You've got to be addressing one of the industry, 4 industry subsectors: livestock, plant, novel food production systems, bioeconomy and agroforestry. You can be based anywhere in the UK, but because this funding is in collaboration with DEFRA, there must be a benefit to English farmers as a condition of the funding. We have had our scoping event last week, which you can catch up with that on the KTN website. We have got a KTN Consortium building event this week if you'd like to be involved. It is on the 11th, so you haven't got very long to register. But if you are interested, please do get in touch. And I think I've probably gone on for too long here. So at this point, I need to pass over to Clarissa Cam, who from Future of Flight, who's going to give us an introduction to her challenge and the funding opportunities available there. Thank you.
Thank you, Katrina. Apologies, I'm just going to pull up my slides. Okay, are you able to see my slides?
Yes, you may want to pop them in presentation mode.
Okay, perfect. Okay,
Brilliant.
So, great. Thank you, and happy International Women's Day to everyone. Today, I'll share a bit more about the Future Flight Challenge and share about what we're doing to encourage equality, diversity, and inclusion in our sectors. So the Future Flight Challenge is a £300 million programme funded by £125 million from the ISCF and matched by industry with £175 million. We aim to transform the aviation system. We are developing the aviation system of the future that will enable the safe operation of new classes of air vehicles, including drones, advanced air mobility vehicles, and sustainable regional aircraft that can really provide us with socioeconomic benefits. So we aim to inspire the next generation of sustainable aviation, as well as not just greener aviation, but fairer aviation as well, in what we do to shape future flight and the diverse and inclusive community. So our ambitions. Well, we are now on the cusp of the third aviation revolution. And the first revolution being the first flight by the Wright brothers that got us airborne. The second being the invention of the jet engine, which allowed us to fly intercontinentally. And now we are on the brink of the third aviation revolution, where we are going to open up the skies to new classes of air vehicles, different from anything else that we've ever seen before. So how do we do this? Well, we aim to position the UK to accelerate the adoption and integration of new technologies, novel technologies like electric and autonomous air vehicles, and to make sure that we are establishing a forward-thinking aviation sector. So we are on a mission to demonstrate capabilities to improve UK connectivity, to provide solutions to congestion, and to really demonstrate that these classes of air vehicles can really transform our lives in the way we transport goods, the way we deliver services, the way we connect with each other, and also improve connectivity across regions, improve connectivity in urban, rural, and remote areas, as well as providing greater accessibility to these areas, and also giving us flexibility in the way we transport people, goods, and services. So the program is has 3 phases, and we completed phase 1. It was an expression of interest because we recognized that the Future Flight Challenge required diverse thinking. It's different from anything else we've ever seen. And so the expression of interest was to make sure that we diversified out of aviation, out of aerospace, and we are reaching customers and new entrants, and forming a community that is diverse, that is inclusive, and that is thinking out of the box for this new challenge. We are in phase 2 at the moment. We launched our phase 2 competition last year, and now we have projects that are undergoing really world-changing research and innovation here in the UK. So those projects are continuing and will continue until 2022. But we are now in the process of scoping phase 3, and we will be looking to, we anticipate that phase 3 will open sometime later this year. So phase 2 is really about creating, making sure that we create focus around customers and use cases to address the challenges holistically, looking at approaching the challenge with a system of systems approach. And phase 3 is where we'll be moving towards demonstrations. So here we can see where we are in the development phase right now in 2020 to 2022. And we'll be moving into the demonstration phase for phase 3 later on this year until 2024. So we aim to demonstrate a fully integrated aviation system, enabling the operation of these new classes of vehicles in live airspace by 2024. So this is just a breakdown of the phase 2 projects that based on the applications we received. And as you can see, it was a very successful competition. We had 96 applications. We had £125 million requested, and we granted £70 million in funding. And you can see the diversity in the organizations. We had 261 unique organizations involved, and 178 SMEs applying, 38 large businesses, 24 universities, 7 RTOs, and 13 other public sectors applying for phase 2. And you can see the spread across the UK for these projects. So these are an example, a flavor of some of the projects that we are funding. One being the urban airport, the world's first urban airport, that is being developed in Coventry. You might have seen this across the news. It was published quite a lot, as well as Apian, a project that is working with the NHS to provide transportation for medical aid, medical supplies. Also, we have the Sustainable Aviation Test Environment project that is being developed in the Highlands and Islands Airport, and really proud to know that there are women leading this project. And this is where we are developing the first test environment. We're looking at hydrogen. How do we integrate these new the infrastructure for future flights, and using the airports as a test environment, a live test environment. We also have Project Heart here, which is looking at scalable automation for the next generation of flight operations. Again, another project heavily involved with women, and very, very excited about these developments. So watch this space and how we shape the future of flight. So I'll move on really quickly to the challenges, some of the things that we are trying to solve. So we know that we have a lack of digital and physical infrastructure for these new classes of air vehicles. We have an oversaturated air traffic management system. It is not scalable and will not be able to cope with a step change in volume, density, and increasing diversity of airspace users. There's no clear technology path, regulatory or operational paths for piloted to remotely piloted to fully autonomous air vehicle operation. There is a need to create pathways for electrification and autonomy for these advanced air mobility vehicles to sub-regional, to larger aircraft as well. So we need to we also have the challenges around creating positive public engagement and building public trust in these new and innovative ways of flying and transporting goods and services. We also need an aviation innovation and development and environment that will allow real-life demonstration and evaluation of these new systems. So there are many challenges to solve, and because there are so many challenges, we need to make sure that we're bringing together diverse thinking. So one of the other challenges I spotted in this, and this is a presentation that that was developed, was this: when we think of challenges and how do we solve it? Well, even the image here shows two men at a table working to solve a problem, and we need to make sure that we're breaking that stereotype. So I fixed it. As an aerospace, as an aerospace engineer and woman in innovation, I fixed it basically to show that innovation and the skills that will be required to solve these problems are diverse. It is absolutely diverse, and it is diversity that will drive innovation, and we need to make sure that we are opening up this space to bring in the best of the best, and that includes women as well. So the partners, game changers. We need game changers and diverse thinking and a diverse skill set to make this happen. So we need architects, engineers, world-class operations for the world's most advanced airports. We need new entrants. We need governments working together. We need diverse thinkers. We need game changers, and that includes a diverse and inclusive skill set. So what are we doing in terms of propelling gender balance in the sectors of future flight? Well, we are building a diverse and inclusive future flight community. Before this challenge, a future flight community did not exist. And the Future Flight Challenge has been successful in creating a new community. And we have the opportunity to change the face of what that looks like. So I come from aerospace, I come from aviation, and for me, aerospace aviation, the face of aerospace aviation is, like you've said, said it before, it's male dominated, and it's we need to make sure that we are breaking that stereotype, and we have the opportunity to do that. We have the opportunity to change the face of aviation as we know it. We are championing equality, diversity, and inclusion within the challenge and across projects. So we are engaging with our projects to meet our ambitions for ED&I. We are working alongside professional bodies, the Royal Aeronautical Society, the IAT, the International Aviation Women's Association, to provide thought leadership and align with ED&I activities. We recognize the importance of raising awareness, understanding barriers to change, and sharing best practices with the Future Flight community. Having said that, we have a Women in Future Flight webinar scheduled for the 26th of March 2021, where we will hear from some of our projects, phase 2 projects that are being led by women. We also intend to sign the Women in Aviation and Aerospace Charter, which would show our commitment towards working towards a more gender balanced sector. We are also supporting the Alta Mentoring Platform, which is a platform for women. It's like a matchmaking service where you sign up to be a mentor and you are matched with a woman in industry or in your sector. You can either be a mentor or a mentee, and members of the Future Flight Challenge, like myself and others, have signed up to that platform. So we are promoting that and supporting that. We are also integrating ED&I into our STEM outreach to make sure that we are encouraging a diverse and inclusive pipeline of future skills to meet our future flight ambitions. Today, this morning, I addressed a a student body of 1,000 young women, and where I shared more about the future flight and what the future of aviation looks like, and to make sure that we're breaking stereotypes and raising the profile of women in leadership roles, and making sure that we have visibility of women in leadership roles as role models to these young girls. We are leading by example. So if you want to fix the aviation community, first you fix internally, and we are leading by example. I'm very proud to say that I'm part of a gender balance team. More so, we have more women than men in the Future Flight Challenge team, and it's refreshing. As an aerospace engineer, I've always been the only woman at the table in a lot of meetings, in the room, and many times in the building. So this is really refreshing and really shows what the future of aviation can look like. I'll finish on, conscious of time, I'll finish on a quote by our challenge director that was shared this morning. This is flight, but not as we know it. So we have the opportunity to shape future flight, and we have the opportunity to shape it in a way that is diverse and inclusive. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you, Carissa. That's great to see, and it's so nice to see a gender balanced team that you've got, which is yeah, refreshing, I can imagine. So we've got a couple of minutes. We haven't had many questions through on the Q&A, but I just wanted to really share with you a slide in case you wanted to get in touch with us, which is our contact details. And you can also log on to ISCF's funding page, which I've sent the link in the chat to everybody. I'd like to also, if we've got these 2 minutes, just to introduce Mel Netch, who is a fantastic advocate for diversity and inclusion and has some closing remarks about the broader piece. So I'll introduce Mel.
Thanks, Olivia. I don't have any slides because I was just asked to give a few reflections. Now, I work as part of UK Research and Innovation, whilst Innovate UK are boldly leading us into the Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund on behalf of UK Research and Innovation. I work in one of the other councils, which is the Economic and Social Sciences, and we've been working very much in partnership with Innovate UK and our sister councils on developing the Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund. I think one of the benefits of working in a cross-council world that we do as funders is we really get to challenge ourselves on who new voices are and new perspectives that we have, and who else we should be drawing upon in voices as we create these. So we all have different networks that we bring in, and we've been starting to see the opportunities within that space. So for example, on challenging ourselves, like in our governance structures, and making sure that we've got balanced voices, but also different and challenging voices across both genders and ethnicities, geographies across the UK, but also different types of businesses that we want to engage with, or different types of academics or new voices in the research field that have been interested or want to come into these spaces. We've also been looking at how do we design our calls and how inclusive are they. So for example, Carissa mentioned the new Future Flight call, Future Flight program. We've today got a new research director program call launched, which allows for job share if it's needed, and applicants can apply for that. But we're also working about who do we invite to workshops and how do we embed different voices in with the programs of funding that we have. So in the Healthy Aging program, we've got members of, voices from the public of different locations and different experiences across the aging landscape. And in the Next Generation Services, trying to draw in a number of small and medium companies into the voices that we have. So we're always looking for new ways to be challenged and new opportunities to be expanding our own networks and bringing new voices into the Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund. And we very much welcome perspectives from people on how we can do that. So thanks.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Mel. That's really, really important. I think in everything that we do at the moment, we're trying to be as open and transparent as possible. And we really do welcome those voices to challenge us, because otherwise it's an echo chamber and we won't progress or move forward. I'd just like to thank everybody for attending today, and I hope that we've given you some insight into ISCF, and yeah, thank you very much.